You can bring food with you. I know, mind-blowing. Could have never guessed. And here's the thing. I know a lot of you guys are bringing food with you, but the number one thing I hear from all this community, let's just say it's a pool of over 1,000 people in a year. The number one thing is, well, I was meal prepping, but then, okay? I knew a goal was important, so I prepared and I was organized and I was all the other things. And you guys do this in other areas of your life. Hey, we have this financial goal, so we're gonna spend this much on this day and save this much and be organized. Oh, but when it comes to my nutrition, I'm helpless. Oh my gosh, what do I do? My career. Come on, you're better than that. What's going on, everybody? Coach Stefan here, and welcome to the Everyday Pursuit podcast. Man, I haven't recorded an episode in a while, and I know you're like, what are you talking about? You just come out with one every single week. Yes, but I pre-record stuff, and it's been like, I feel like 6 weeks since I've recorded something as far as the podcast, because we're making a small transition, and we're still going to come out with episodes. Don't worry if you like them. But we're going to come out with them temporarily, at least bi-weekly, just because we have a lot of things happening in Pursuit. We launched a new offer. We have a kind of like more of a group coaching thing and our one-on-one now. So we added that in. We're adding more of a community base. We're doing more live trainings within those groups for our paid members. And yeah, it's been a wild several months. And honestly, in the business, and this isn't about business, this is about nutrition, but just to give you some context, like my life has been a roller coaster the past probably 6 months. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I think with nutrition, people just assume that like they can eat the same all year long. And although you're capable of that, I would also argue that most of the time that's not the case. Things come up. Holidays, vacations, travel, being late at work. And if you don't have a good nutritional base and you're a shift worker, you're part of our everyday hero community. So you're a military member, first responder, EMS, medical, border patrol, nurse, any shift worker, but specifically those career fields that we work with, you need to learn how to eat. And it is going to be different than somebody that works a 9 to 5. Maybe you have a spouse that works a 9 to 5, or they stay home, or they work part-time, whatever. You have more barriers than the average person when it comes to nutrition. However, you cannot use that as an excuse. Because here's the thing. You picked this career, probably, I'm hoping. You picked this career and you continue to choose it. And because of that, we have to take ownership of that. And I talk about that a lot, because sometimes we're like, well, it's really hard to work out because I work shift work. It's really hard to eat healthy because I work shift work. And here's the good news. You know that there's jacked military members, cops, nurses, firefighters. We've seen them. I know you probably maybe even know some of them. So how can they do it and you can't? And you could go down the rabbit hole and say, well, Coach Stefan, their situation's different. Like they don't have kids, or they're single, or this or this. Okay. But here's the thing. I know people in our program that work full-time as a firefighter, cop, military, medical, plus have a part-time job, plus have kids and a spouse that works, that are making extremely good progress. And those were the same people that said months before they joined our program, or whenever they were doing it, hey, I'm too busy. My work makes it hard. This and this and this, and excuse and barrier and barrier. And then what do you know? They joined a program. They finally have some structure and some organization and some accountability and a plan and the education on what to do and how to do it. And they're making progress. What do you freaking know? Okay. And the reason that you need to understand that is because you are your worst enemy, right? You're holding yourself back from being really good with your nutrition because you've bought into this thing, this kind of poor me, like, oh, my job makes it hard. It does. You're completely right. Your job does make it more challenging than me. I stay home. I can eat whatever I want. I can do all the meal prepping and all the food prepping. And you know what? It's really, really easy. But when I was in the military and I had to be on the flight line for 10 to 12 hours and I couldn't come home to eat because I lived off base 35, 40 minutes and I was a single parent, like I had to either bring my same solutions for you. I'm going to tell you right now. Number one, you can keep doing what you're doing. You can eat like crap. You can miss your protein goal. You can be all over with your calories. You can keep eating fast food. You can keep going to the gas station. You can keep being random. You can keep not eating all day. And then when you get home, binge because you're so starving, which usually is an unhealthy food. Okay. So you're probably not going home and crushing chicken, broccoli, and rice purely. And I know because I've been there. You can keep doing that. And nobody's going to make you change. But where has that gotten you? Where has eating like crap, being inconsistent with your nutrition, how do you look? How do you look? How do you feel? And I know that probably your biggest downfall is nutrition. Yet you don't do anything about it. Like, not really. What you do is you say, my job makes it hard. Blah, 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 blah. And I made an episode probably 10 episodes ago that was talking about how to overcome your excuses. And this is one of the things we tell ourselves. Most people will say, I'm busy, which is a legitimate excuse and it's a crutch we love to hold on to. But the career is one too. And how do I know this, guys? I actually would probably argue that I know this better than actually everybody in this community, only because, and maybe I'm wrong, I talk to probably 1,500 people a year, different states, different genders. Some have kids, some don't. All those careers, Border Patrol, medical. I'm the one that talks to all these people and I get a pretty good understanding of what people say. I ask, why do you feel you are where you are right now? Why are you not consistent with your nutrition? Why are you not consistent with your training? I'm on phone calls. If you guys don't know, I'm on phone calls and Zoom calls for 10 hours a day. Like, I work 12 hours a day usually. Sometimes I'm on back-to-back calls. So I talk to multiple people every day, 6 days a week. The reason I'm telling you that is because I can tell you without a doubt in my mind that you guys, generalization, but you guys are sitting there and you're using your career as a crutch. Now, I don't mean that to attack you. I don't mean that to be a jerk. I mean that because we have to take ownership. We have to be better. Okay. And like I said, the good news is if everybody in your career was sucking and there was no hope, then who am I to talk? But there's good news. And the good news is people are doing it outside of our program, right? Just go look on Instagram, go look up ripped cop. Okay. Ripped fire. I mean, and then within our program, I also have another set of science experiments. I'm doing quote fingers because these are people that we're looking at the data. We're tracking their data. They're being, I could see their food. I could see their workouts. We have numbers. We have qualitative data. We have quantitative data. We have sets of data, and these people are getting results. So not only is it from talking to people, but the good thing is you can actually pick another solution. So solution one is you keep doing what you're doing, and nothing changes if nothing changes. But sadly, for a lot of you, you'll continue to do it because it's easy. It's like this. It's like the busy time. It's using busyness as a time barrier, right? Oh, I'm super busy. I'm super busy. Well, you've gotten away with saying that, you're unfit because you're busy for your whole life. So yeah, just keep using that excuse, right? I mean that sarcastically. And then number two, this is where the actual good news comes with. There are solutions, and I'm going to give you them. Number two, you can bring food with you. I know, mind blowing. Could have never guessed. And here's the thing. I know a lot of you guys are bringing food with you, but the number one thing I hear from all this community, let's just say it's a pool of over 1,000 people in a year, easily a few thousand that I talk to. The number one thing is, well, I was meal prepping, but then, okay. And then whatever follows after that are also excuses. Now, they can be legit. They could be actual things that happen. Injuries, kids get sick, you move. Like, those are real things that cause you to fall off the wagon, air quotes again, okay? But here's the thing. You need to find out how to solve the thing that got in the way, right? Oh, I was bringing food to work and it was going really well until fill in the blank. So it's like, okay, so you can be successful. When you were actually bringing food to work, you weren't eating fast food? Correct. Okay, when you were bringing food to work, you weren't doing like food runs with the people and going to eating at the gas station? No, I was eating the food. Okay, cool. So that worked for you. Awesome. How do we make sure that you're continuing to do it? And you know what? Number one, it's a lack of organization. And come on, guys. I know the community you're in. You go off of structure or organization and being on time or early to work and being regimented, hopefully. It's the same thing with your meal prep. If you cannot set aside time, and here's the thing, it's just not important to you if you're not setting aside time. Because I know you set aside time for your hobbies, for your spouse, and for your kids. I know you do. And for your relaxed time. So I'm talking about setting a couple hours more throughout the whole week to make sure that your nutrition is 100% on point. So you can bring your food with you. Number two, if you're like, well, I don't want to meal prep. I don't want to eat all my meals out of Tupperware. Okay, fine. Don't. But you could bring some food with you. That's option number three. You could bring some food with you. And what that might look like is maybe if you're on a 12-hour shift, you eat a huge breakfast at home. This is what I did. I had a ginormous breakfast, okay, because I didn't want to really bring like 3 or 4 or 5 Tupperwares or whatever. So I would bring like one big meal, okay, with me. I would have some snacks, fruits, vegetables, protein bars, really high protein snacks, beef jerky, all that stuff. And I have this lunchbox. So I'd only really bring like one big container of a high protein meal and then like high protein snacks. And I'd eat a big breakfast and a pretty big dinner. And a lot of my calories, and I was on the flight line, very active in the heat. So I was actually in the middle of like, some days I wouldn't be really hungry because I was so busy. I would like almost forget to eat. And I know you probably experienced that. Physical, and sometimes your body doesn't want to eat because I'm out in the heat. My body's releasing a stress hormone, but on days that were a little bit slower, I was starving. But that's why I'm like, I know I need to eat a big meal for breakfast, kind of like snack enough to where I'm not so hungry I'm going to give in. Because what a lot of you guys do is you don't prepare, and then somebody brings donuts or somebody brings burritos, and you're like, I was just going to wait till I get home, but I'm starving. Yes, because you were unprepared. The 5 Ps, prior preparation prevents poor performance. You weren't prepared. So now you're saying, oh, I don't have any other choice. Yeah, because you didn't give yourself the choices. And we have to take ownership of that. And we see people do that in our program, which is really cool because they maybe were somebody that gave themselves a lot of excuses. They come in and they're taking ownership. You know, hey, I was being really unprepared. I was being lazy. I wasn't making it a priority. And you know what? I am now. And here's the thing. It's actually the most empowering thing, right? Like, it's almost like bringing your wallet to work, like bringing your wallet when you go places. You're like, what would you just tell people? Oh, I can't pay for the bill. I don't have money. Oh, I guess we can't get the groceries. I didn't bring my wallet. You know what you do? You're like, every time I leave the house, I'm grabbing my wallet because I know I need to be prepared and I need to swipe the card and I need to have the funds available to pay for these things. Okay. Well, you need to have the food available to put in your body to fuel your body if your goals are even relatively important to you. Because here's the thing, and we know this, nutrition 60 to 70% of the way your body looks, AKA your body composition. So how are you going to sit there and say, well, I work out, but I don't eat really healthy, which is, again, 60 to 70%. So you're telling me that it's okay that you're not taking care of the biggest chunk of the way that you look and probably perform, okay? And I know I sound fired up, and this is because I used to tell myself these same excuses when I was in the military. I would work out, actually, very consistent, but I ate like crap. I drank on the weekends. I didn't bring food with me for the first big chunk. Like the first 2 years in the military, never brought food with me. I just eat what's available. People would bring in donuts. And I'm like, why can't I get abs? Why can't I get ripped? And I was eating what I thought was healthy outside of work, but I was at work so much that it didn't matter. Like I was just eating like sugar, carb, kind of trying fasting. And guys, during that time, I tried everything: keto, intermittent fasting, Whole30. I tried all these things because I wasn't consistent with my nutrition, that I noticed that I started to get a belly. I started to lose my abs. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to lose this fat right now. And guess what I did? These ultra restrictive diets, which you probably tried, that are hard to do with work, I think, and they're not sustainable. So even if I lost a little bit or got cut, it was just a month later until I started to gain weight again, because I'm like, I'm not doing keto anymore. I'm not doing the Whole30. I'm going to eat like a, normal person again. And so guess what? Not sustainable. So like I said, option number 1, you can keep doing what you're doing. Option number 2, you can bring all your food and meal prep if you're really serious about it, because then you can track all your macros, your portion sizes. Number 3, you can bring some of your food with snacks, which is what I like to do because it's easier for me. I don't have to do as much meal prep. I don't like cooking that much. I'm not going to lie. So it's easier for me to do that and bring some. And option number 4, you can order meal prep food. Yes. You guys might, oh, that's so expensive. No, it's not. I mean, you're talking about $10 to $15 a meal. And you say, well, God, dude, that's going to add up. Sure. But I'm not talking about everything you eat from when you wake up till you go to sleep is from a meal prep company. I'm talking about, again, kind of like step 3, maybe 1 meal, maybe 2. Maybe you wake up, you eat breakfast at your house. I would say, if you're like, I'm not a breakfast person. Okay, well, that's fine, but you just have to bring more food to work. Or it doesn't really matter what time you eat. I'll just side note real quick. It doesn't matter what time you eat, because if you get the calories in within 24 hours, not a big deal. For me, I like to have my body fasted like 10 to 12 hours. So the whole again, let's say you work 7 to 7. I know that's like a lot of people. So 7 to 7. So maybe you get home, and right when you get home, I would try to eat. And again, I'm not a big fan of eating a huge, massive meal right before I go to bed. Depends what time you go to bed, but I'd eat something at like 7:30, and then I wouldn't go to bed till like 11. I want to digest. And that's where a lot of my proteins and fats are going to come from. I wouldn't eat a lot of carbs before I go to bed, and not because all your carbs are going to turn into fat. That's kind of more not true. I just sleep better, and I want my carbs to be more readily available. So I like to eat my bigger carb meals 2 to 3 hours before I lift, and then also like right after. Okay, now I'm going back on. So number 4 is you could order from a meal prep company. And here's the thing. I go to Chipotle all the time, and you know what I get? I get a bowl with double steak or steak and chicken or whatever, double meat. And you know, it's like $18. It's not cheap. Okay. Yes, it's a big portion, but it's like $18. Some of the meal prep companies, if I do $18, I can get just as good food and probably even more grams of protein. And I know because I order from some. And here's the thing. I don't care what company you guys use. I used to use Icon Meals. I think that's what we recommend for a lot of our clients. Doesn't matter. You can use a local one. But here's the beauty. I can go, and especially for this specific company, I could go on and actually order my macros and exactly the foods I want. I can custom make meals. They're shipped, already cooked, already delivered to my house. I don't need to shop. I don't need to prep. I don't need to cook. I know exactly the macros, everything. There's zero excuse. There's zero excuse. And if you say, well, I can't afford it, I promise you can afford it. I've gone at points in my life where like we're moving, right? When we moved into this house, I'm like, I'm really busy. And I'm not going to be able to cook for about like 2 weeks. I mean, you know, things in and out of the fridge. And so I was smart. I took my freezer to my next house. I ordered meal prep. That's the first thing I took there. And I just had all the food in there because I didn't want to just eat like crap for 2 weeks and totally fall off the wagon. So you know what I did? I prepared. And I moved the freezer in first. I ordered all the meal prep food. And we ate like almost every meal. We had some like snacks like protein powders, beef jerkies, protein bars, nuts, fruits, like some basic little things, but all our main meals were at that meal prep company. And it was a little more expensive than the bill or than my grocery bill. But here's the thing. It saved me so much time. You know what I mean? Like think about how long it takes you to like cook and shop and all that and how much you get paid per hour, right? Like, oh, it's, you know, it's $100 more a month, $200 more a month. Okay, cool. Well, how long does it take you to meal prep and cook and do all that stuff? Oh, 3 hours a week. Okay. So if you get paid $50 an hour, that's $150 savings. There you go. It equals out. Plus you just didn't have to do it. You have to think of opportunity cost too when you're doing your nutrition. Okay. And here's the thing. You can take any of these 4 methods, these main methods, and you can combine them however much you want. We have clients that go, I'm going to do intermittent fasting. And, it's hard with a 12-hour shift, but some of the 10-hour people, I'm just not going to eat during that period. Again, I wouldn't say eat all your calories. Like, it depends on what time you work. So let's say you're going to work from 9 in the morning to 7 at night, 10 hours, right? Maybe you're eating a huge meal. Again, a big breakfast. You don't eat for 10 hours and then you eat a big dinner. You could do that. You could do 2 meals a day. That's totally fine. You have to bring nothing to work. If that works for you, go ahead. But here's what happens with a lot of people that do intermittent fasting. They won't get in enough protein specifically and or calories in their breakfast. They get home, they're so hungry that they binge and they're like, I'm about to go to bed soon. And so they'll eat a big meal, but during that time, their stomach kind of started to shrink a little bit and they're full off of like 500 calories and they're in a big deficit. So if you're cutting, that's really good. That could be good. If you're trying to bulk or maintain, maybe that big intermittent fasting window, like midday is probably not optimal. Most people that do intermittent fasting, they'll use their sleep as part of that fasting window because, when you're sleeping, you're not hungry. But honestly, guys, you could do whatever you want. The one thing that I would definitely suggest you don't continue is option number 1, which is making a bunch of excuses that you can't eat healthy and you can't, and you can't, and you can't, and you can't. And one of the careers that I think is the hardest from my experience, I'm not a firefighter, but is firefighting because they cook, they're there for 24 hours, right? Or longer. They cook, they have, hey, this is what we're eating. And this is the food and this is what we're eating. And sometimes that could be really hard, but we have firefighters in our program right now that I just did interviews with that say, I might take a bite of what the guys are eating, but I actually just bring my own food and they respect it. And they just know that I'm on this mission and they're really cool with it. What do you know? What do you know? Do you know how much crap I got in the military from bringing food. I'm not even kidding you. Most of the time, people, and I know they mean well, but like, they're giving me crap for it, chastising me. Oh, my last name's Coon. So they're like, oh, Coons, yeah, you bring your protein stuff. And like, I mean, there's other guys that brought meals, but I ate super healthy. I ate like, bodybuilding style food, sweet potatoes, chicken, all that. Especially when I went in my second kind of, I worked as a crew chief. So on the flight line, and then more like maintenance operation, more of a desk job, kind of the last little stint I was in. And so I had access. I was lucky. I had access to a fridge, and I'd be like, oh, time to eat before the gym. People like, dude, you have to time it. And I'm like, yes, because I care about my performance. I care about my physique. It's going to take me 2.5 minutes to eat my food. Okay. I could be playing on my phone, but I'm like, no, I'm going to go eat because I have the gym in this time. And I timed it. And like, that was me being really specific. But guess what? I knew a goal was important. So I prepared and I was organized and I was all the other things. And you guys do this in other areas of your life. Hey, we have this financial goal. So we're going to spend this much on this day and save this much and be organized. Oh, but when it comes to my nutrition, I'm helpless. Oh my gosh, what do I do? My career. Come on. You're better than that. You are stronger than that. I guarantee you, if you start dissecting areas of your life where you had just, on the surface, it's challenging or it's a barrier. I guarantee you, you have grinded a little bit. You've got creative, haven't you? You've figured out ways to push and pull and save here or, make an extra trip here. Like, I know you do that in your life. Why aren't you doing that with your nutrition? And here's the real answer. We're avoidant in the areas we're the most weakened and the most uneducated and the least confident in. I'm gonna say that again. We're avoidant doing work in the areas we feel the dumbest in, basically. We're the least confident and we know we're the least educated. I do that 100%. I have a tax person and I'm so grateful because I'm like, I don't even know where that starts. So you know what I do? I pay an expert. What do you know? There's a solution. I could not pay my taxes. I could do it and mess up and tell the IRS, well, I'm really sorry, I didn't know. They're like, yeah, you need to take ownership though. You decided to own a business, so you need to do these taxes. And I'm like, look, I have to submit certain things. I have to do certain work, but I want this person to actually be able to like tell me what to do because I don't even want to necessarily learn everything that they know. I just want to know enough to get results, to get my taxes done. You should probably do the same thing. That's what our clients do. Hey, I don't want to go super deep down nutrition. I didn't go to school for this. I don't want to know every little thing and the seed oils and every micronutrient, but I need to know what to do to get results. Can you tell me that? Yes, because that's looking for a solution instead of sitting there and playing victim to all the barriers. Okay. You are responsible for what goes in your mouth with food, period. Nobody else. Nobody's making you. And most of the time, it's actually probably better for you not to eat it all than eat the thing you've been eating. Like you might as well wait till you get home because if you're overweight, you're eating in a calorie surplus. Did you know that? If you don't, there's your science lesson. If you're overweight, at some point in time, you've been eating in a calorie surplus. If you go, well, you don't know my metabolism, my hormones, cool. Go get your hormones fixed. 99% of the time, it's not that because we welcome clients in our program that tell me, hey, I think my metabolism's damaged or ruined, or you don't understand. I've tried everything. What do you know? When they get on a consistent program and they're tracking their macros and they start strength training consistently 3 to 5 times a week, everybody gets results. Everybody burns body fat, starts to build some muscle, their performance increases. Out of 600-700 people, I've never had anybody that did the work consistently and didn't get results. Are there outliers? Sure, but you're probably not that person. And the more you tell yourself, well, you don't know my physique and like you don't get this. Okay. But that's a victim mentality. It really is because you need to put yourself in the, I can do this because everybody else did. What you're doing is I can't do this because I'm not like everybody else. Do you understand that? That's damaging. If I would have went and started this business and said, well, everybody else that's an online fitness coach is all jacked and ripped and they don't have kids and their wife's not in nursing school and all that, I would have never succeeded. I didn't care I had a ton of barriers before I started this business. I didn't care about those circumstances. I mean, were they there? Yes, I knew about them, but I was like, how are other people getting results? Okay. So how can I do it? And I had to solve this and this and this and this because I had a lot of moving parts and it wasn't a good time for me to start this business and all these things. And I could have played the victim mentality and been like, well, you don't get it. It's not a good time to start a business. I have a young kid. I just graduated. I'm already working a full-time job. My wife's in nursing school. I'm supporting her solely financially, blah, 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 blah. And I would have never been here. Or I could have just been like what I did and said, there's people with probably different circumstances. They have what I want. How do I solve it? They have what I want. How do I get it? Okay. These other people in your career field, they're in shape. They're fit. They're living life to the fullest. How do I get there? Not why I can't, not all the reasons. How do I get there? And if you can't have that mindset, you're going to continue to struggle. You're going to continue to struggle. So this is more of a mindset thing than anything else because the nutrition's simple. Now, if you're like, well, Stefan, what exact macros do I eat? I don't know if you're a body type, but here's a thing. You probably need to be eating more protein. You probably need to be eating less carbs and fat. Pretty simple, right? And I know a lot of guys that come in, men specifically, I know you guys think you're eating a lot of protein. Maybe you are, but a lot aren't. They're like, yeah, I have this huge steak. What'd you have for breakfast? Oh, I had this little Greek yogurt. And what'd you have for lunch? Oh, I had a chicken breast and salad. I go, okay, 20 grams of protein for your Greek yogurt, 30 grams of protein for your chicken breast. So that's 50 grams. How big was your steak? And they show me and I'm like, okay, so you got about like maybe 100 grams and you weigh 210. Okay, so you're about at half of your protein. You see what I'm saying? But all I ate was protein with all my meals. You still were less. And so, that's the basis. But here's the thing. You can, in any of those, besides number one, any of those solutions, like those paths you pick, you can solve it. You can solve it by bringing all your food. You can solve it by bringing some of your food. You could solve it by doing a meal prep company. You could even solve it by, here's an extra one I should add it on here. You can eat out. You could actually eat out. You could say, hey, every day I'm going to eat out with the guys on shift or with myself, whatever, if you're in a squad car. Every day I'm going to eat out. Cool. You could do that. You could say, I'm eating my breakfast and my dinner and I know what they're going to be. And I have these are my macros available for lunch. This is what I have for my calories. And I'm going to go to Chipotle or this place every other day I'm going to go. You could do that. You can absolutely do that. You can hit your goals. You could be healthy. But again, what does that take? Planning, preparation to know, what am I going to get at the restaurant? What am I going to order? Does that fit into my nutrition? If you're not willing to do that much work, and it's not a lot of work, I promise, if you can't even get past that mental barrier, you have a lot of mindset work to do. And I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy. And that's why I think coaching is powerful, because you have an accountability source. Because every time you told yourself you're going to do it, you never stuck to it. Not long-term, not long enough to lose the weight and keep it off. You haven't, which is why you are where you are. And so we have to solve that. We have to solve it. So I appreciate it, guys. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this gives you guys some tangible things that you can do. And honestly, this is an episode obviously about taking more ownership of your situation and where you are. You can do it. You can do it. I've seen hundreds of people come through and they were right where you were. I promise you. They had the same excuses. They had the same barriers. They had this very similar or exactly the same life situation, and they put in the work, because this isn't magic, fairy dust, sprinkle, butterfly, rainbows, okay? This is preparation, setting aside time, being disciplined, being regimented. Good thing you have the one career where you already do that. You already thrive, which is why I picked partially this community to work with, because I know you guys are freaking action takers. And I know when you have a set plan and it's there and you can buy into it, you will execute till you get the results. I love you guys. I'll talk to you next time.